Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining us early this morning. I just want to introduce myself real quick. My name is Sydney Patrick. I'm here with the University of Missouri Extension. Extension, we do a wide variety of things. Most of you have probably heard of 4-H or being a master gardener, but I am a health and nutrition specialist. So health and nutrition is a very broad topic. And one of the things you may not consider being your health is your mind and your own thoughts. So that's why today we wanted to go over something such as mindfulness, because health looks different for everybody. And some people, you may be going through something and you may go to a doctor and get a prescription that will help you, but other people want to take other steps before that to see if they can fix it more of a natural way, or even just introducing other ways to deal with problems that we have as we go through life. So this is Take Control of Your Life with Mindfulness, and we are going to start with a video, but we're not going to play this video because the sound isn't working, but you will get this PowerPoint after. But the main thing we want to talk about here is our brain. Our brain controls so much of our body and our body's functions. It is such a small part of you in terms of size, but it takes up about 20% of your energy, and it's not the size of 20% of your body. So our thoughts really matter in terms of what's happening in our lives and how we are able to control our thoughts and our actions, and what's going on around us may not have to impact what's going on inside of our head, but that is very easy to say and very difficult to do. So we are going to start by just talking about the small bits of mindfulness. Mindfulness is extremely broad, so I'm going to try to hit every aspect because it's going to look different for everyone who's here. For some of you, that may mean just breathing, and some of you, it may mean finding something throughout your day that you can do at work that calms you down and brings you into the moment. But our most basic definition of mindfulness is being able to live in a moment. You're like, what does that mean? Okay, thinking about the seat you're in now and being able to think about where you are now. Because if you're like me, I often find myself sitting somewhere. I'm either worried about what happened a couple of days ago, or I'm thinking about what I'm about to do in a couple hours, and then time just flies by, and I'm like, I didn't even get to live in that moment. I was stressed about things that already happened or are going to happen. So we're going to work on ways to do that. Okay, we're going to start by looking at this picture. So fall is a time of year that people love, or I love. I think about the leaves changing, the weather changing, but it's still just something that you can control outside. Like, you don't have to put on a large jacket, you can be comfortable. I think about campfires, and then when I think about those campfires, I think about s'mores, Hershey's chocolate, and graham crackers. So anything of the in between. So sometimes when you would see this image, you would just pass it by, but really thinking about, how do I feel in this moment and what memory could this attach to? So I know I said we don't want to think about the past, but we're going to practice later, if you're in a very stressful social environment, how to look back at past or future objectives that make you feel at peace in that moment. Okay, so when you saw this, what came to your mind? Yummy. Yummy. Anyone else? Friends. Friends around a campfire. I love that. I think of camp too. But yeah, everyone sees something different. So I like to surround myself, especially at work, like the background of my computer is something like this, that I have a good memory attached to, that even when I'm just going from a different document to another document, I can see that image, and it's something that throughout the day is just already there and just calms me just a little bit. And you can detach that to certain memories to get away from others. Okay, so this is just the most basic form of mindfulness is doing something like this. So I want to see where we're at. Somebody here might be a mindfulness pro. Somebody here may have never heard it before. Either is fine, but has anyone been practicing, or what are your general thoughts? Yes.
Practice for just a small piece where you like breathe and then you count to 10 to 1 and feel the body parts relaxing. I never went through formal training and just got pieces from different places.
Cool, thank you for sharing. Yes, there's so many options online, whether it be something that you know that you can count to, or if you're like, I have this YouTube link, I use it once a day, I know it's gonna take 3 minutes and it works for me. There's so many options. Would anyone else like to share?
My brother always talks to me about mindfulness. He said it helps him a lot.
So relaxing at the bookstore. Okay. That's another different form of mindfulness that I really tried to work on lately, is we often in this day and age, or I personally see a bunch of short clips of videos, and it's kind of an addictive thing. So much so that you love it and you enjoy it, but then your brain isn't as able to focus long term because you're used to that short, here's the video, I'm happy, next one. So I've really been trying to be mindful about reading, especially before bed, to kind of shut down my brain, but also extending my memory in terms of being able to see something for more than 30 minutes or 30 seconds. But why mindfulness? So I want to get this right. Mindfulness became popular in 1979 with Dr. John Kabat-Zinn. He created this in terms of wanting something to lower people's stress when they're going through a health crisis, whatever that be. Because he saw, as he had so many patients, the more stressful they are, not always, but that often leads to a worse diagnosis in terms of what happens through whatever disease that you have. So he wanted to do this and put it into hospitals. And so there's many different forms of this, and depending on who your practitioner is, if they would recommend it. But he also does have an online 8-week program that will take you through different methods of mindfulness, even now today. So basic mindfulness means something different for everyone. One of the things I like to point out is everyone has a different opinion before you come in. Some people think that mindfulness may be sitting on a rug with your legs crossed and meditating. And some people are like, I would never do that. That's not me. That's hippie. Whatever spectrum you're on, there's a midpoint. Whatever works for you, if you're far left, far right with that, we can meet you in the middle. We can meet you further on the side of the carpet or further on the side of, I'm not doing that. So just be open-minded as you come into this. We're going to do several different options and we're going to figure out what works for you. So that is to be said, we're about to go into an exercise. And if you feel comfortable, I want you to sit back in your chair and close your eyes. All right. Allow yourself to fully relax. And I want you to imagine that there is a bowl of fresh lemons on the table in front of you. The lemons are perfectly picked from the tree, and the oil of the rind is very fragrant. Allow yourself to enjoy the lemony smell. Now imagine yourself taking the lemon from the bowl, bring the lemon to your nose, and you can smell that fragrant oil from the smooth skin of the lemon. Imagine the lemon has been cut into 2. Now bring the lemon to your mouth. Bite into the lemon, allowing the juices to fill in your mouth. All right, go ahead and open your eyes. What did we feel?
I know I grimaced with it, like I was puckering my mouth.
Sort of grimacing, expecting the sour, knowing the sensation you would actually have. Anyone else? Any mouth watering? Yeah. That
Someone online said sour juice, bitter rind.
sour juice, bitter rind. Yeah. So isn't that interesting that you are imagining all these things, but you're still getting the bodily feeling of, I can taste something, my mouth is watering, things are happening. This is not magic. So that's just to goes to show how powerful your mind is, and just your thoughts can control a lot of what's going around you. So, how do you think people could benefit from something like mindfulness, or yourself?
Helps you distracts you from what's bothering you.
Yes, a distraction, a nice time of peace.
I'm just gonna say de-escalation of stress, to focus on something else besides what's causing the problem in the first place.
Absolutely. Do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, you need to make sure that I know that you talked a little about like staying in the moment. And so like if you're practicing mindfulness, especially somewhere that you're really controlling and living in it, I know that that's.
Yes, absolutely. The first thing I think about that is when I think about vacation.
Yes.
You plan and stress over planning a vacation. The name of vacation, it's supposed to be fun. And then you get there and you're like, what do I do now? I've been thinking about planning this whole time and now I'm here, sitting and enjoying. Absolutely.
Somebody online said recenters yourself, and then someone else said relaxation.
Yes, absolutely. Recentering and restoration. So here are a couple ones that I've came up with. The top two: increase brain activity, increase antibodies. In 2003, there were some researchers who wanted to see the impacts of mindfulness. So they had two groups. One of them was practicing mindfulness, one of them were not, and they did studies on them before, after the 8 weeks, and then 4 months later. And one of the most interesting things that they found, that not only was this increasing brain activity, especially in the left side of our brain with positive emotions, it also increased our antibodies. So during this time, they had both groups take an influenza vaccine, and they showed more antibodies in the group to a significant level that was practicing mindfulness versus the group who wasn't. So we also have other more common ones that you would think of, such as increasing your focus, which also in terms kind of helps with the next one, lowering your stress. Those can go hand in hand. And then lastly, increasing your happiness. So your ability to focus on one thing or just control your thoughts over one thing can really have a difference in your overall health. Okay, that brings us to our next point, is who can practice this? You're like, do I need to be a certain type of person? Does this make me a certain type of person if I do this? Absolutely not. We can have anyone from ranging men, women, blue collar workers, white collar workers, adults, older adults, and even children. I love this practice for children specifically too, because you guys have all lived in a world without cell phones. Imagine if you have never done that. You would have an even harder time probably focusing on your moments because you're used to everything constantly being in front of you in an overload of information. So I think this is great for young kids, but it may look a lot differently for them. So one of the options that we have come up with for kids practicing mindfulness is creating this station of things. So this could work low cost at your home. If you have a bunch of different items that either have different smells, textures, feels, tastes, looks, set a couple items in front of a child and you have them go through each one. So they go through the first one. You can either have them say internally or externally what works for that kid, how they feel about it, just describing the object, describing whatever they feel or think, and then going to the next one. This may seem like a very basic practice, which it is, and I love that it is basic because it can be done in any home, but it can make a huge difference for a kid being able to see how they feel in that moment instead of just visualizing something that they're seeing on a screen. Because they are getting most likely a high amount of screen time per day. So just being able to check in with what's in front of them in that moment can be huge. Okay, we are going to go into another practice. This is a really popular one. If you've probably heard of mindfulness, you've heard of a body scan. This can look different for everyone, but my favorite part of it is that it's 3 minutes. I know we have a lot of busy people in this room, but if you are the most busy person in the world, you can set aside 3 minutes. And if you think you can't, these 3 minutes could save you so much more time because you're gonna be better in your work and more calm in your job and probably get more things done because of the 3 minutes. So whether that means set an alarm every day and getting it to go, or just you notice that you feel overwhelmed and doing your 3 minutes, whatever works for you. Okay. So I will warn you though, you may have thoughts pop up. We're gonna do this body scan, it's gonna calm us, and you're gonna try to be clear in your head, but you're gonna get all these thoughts of what I need to do, what I've done, what I'm thinking about, where I'm at. That's okay. We don't wanna get upset with ourselves for the intruding thoughts, just let them happen and try to let them pass. Okay, because we're not perfect, and the more you practice it, the better you will get at it. But go ahead and relax in your chair, and if you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. All right, this first minute is spent on answering the question, how am I doing right now? So think about that. While you're thinking about how you're doing right now, try to give words and phrases to these feelings. Bring your attention to the top of your body, to your face. If there's any tension in your jaw, try to let it go. Notice your shoulders. Try to let them hang down and out of your ears. Moving down to your arms, let go of any tightness in your hands. And then relax any tension you have in your stomach. And let your legs and feet hang free. Take a deep breath, inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. The second minute is spent on keeping awareness of your breath. I want you to keep going with those deep inhales and exhales and notice where you feel your breathing, whether it's through your stomach, through your chest, what's happening. See if you can notice the exchange of inhaling and exhaling, so those two working together. All right, our final minute is being used for an expansion of your attention outward from your breath. So I want you to feel the ways that this breathing affects the rest of your body. Keeping your eyes closed, bring yourself back into your seat. So now noticing that you're in your seat. Slowly moving your fingertips and toes, bringing yourself back to life. And now go ahead and open your eyes. Perfect time. Okay, how did we feel? Very relaxed. Did you get the thoughts? Yes. And it's okay when thoughts are coming in. Just try to let it happen and let it pass. I recently started this new workout, and at the end, they always call it a shavasana, where you're laying on your mat. You've just been depleted from a workout, and they want you to sit there and close your eyes and like breathe in the dark. And in the beginning, I was getting thought after thought, and I was like, I know everyone around me is at peace right now. Why can't I be? And then slowly, after a couple months of doing it, you get into practice, you get better at it. You still have some days where you have those thoughts intruding, but overall, it does make a big difference with practice. So the biggest idea is to not judge yourself. Let the thoughts come, let them pass. Do you think that you could practice this in your own life, whether it be at home or at work? Mhm. It is very simple, and that's why I love it. And some
Yes.
people prefer to be laying horizontal, whatever position works for you. But instead of me saying it, you can be saying these things for yourself, or you can just look up a YouTube 3-minute body scan and it'll just say it to you. Okay, so moving on. What do you think, other than what we've talked about today? I've mentioned there are hundreds of ways to practice mindfulness. What do you think this could look like for you?
need to start going back to yoga more often.
Yoga could be your thing, yes.
Getting outside of nature.
Absolutely. I am a big walker and I finally got my dad into walking and I was like, you want my old AirPods? I listen to these podcasts. You would love it. It's free. And he was like, I listen to the trees. I listen to the wind. And I was like, oh my gosh. I wish that was me. And just being able to connect with nature while getting those benefits of movement and your vitamin D and all the things, that is awesome. Anyone else want to share? Yes.
The guided meditation has been very helpful for me. There's a lot of apps out there and stuff.
Mhm.
The trickiest thing on all this mindfulness discussion is to realize when you've gotten on the train. Because thoughts come up and next thing you know, you're 3 stops down. You just get on that train and then you be thinking about what you're thinking, not thinking about what you're thinking about, or catching what that you leaving where you are to go to the past, the future, your laundry list, your,
Absolutely. So one, do you have any recommendations for the group on your apps?
I like, Insight Timer, it's called.
Insight Timer.
And it's a free app. They've got literally thousands of free mindful meditations, on there.
And two, I like how you said it. How do I know I'm getting on the train? How do I know that I'm about to have one thought and it's going to take me into 6 minutes of thinking about that same thing that I usually can't fix? So that is the hardest part, is noticing what you're doing and trying to, one, not judge yourself, and two, move on. So really just being patient with yourself. One of my biggest things I think about is how I talk to myself in my brain versus how I would talk to my friends. My friends call me all the time and I don't care what they've done. They're okay. To me, I'm like, that's not a problem. You could do this, this, and this to fix it. You're a great person, all this. But if I was doing the exact same thing, I think my thoughts would not be the same. So when you get to that point, you feel like you can't get off that train, think about, what if my friend was doing the exact same thing? What if someone I love was doing the exact same thing? And that just changes your language a little bit with how you interact or you're assessing the issue. So just a little point. Anything else before we move on? Okay. Basic mindfulness, as we've mentioned, can look different for everyone. I think when I think of basic, I think of low cost and can be done anywhere. So one of the ones I like to point out, as we mentioned, is just going to a place to sit, relax, and breathe, whether that be alone or with somebody. You can also have sensory ones. So, being aware of all the senses around you, whether that be sight, sound, smell, taste, or touch. You can just do whatever you would like, whether that be sitting somewhere or just being in a moment, knowing where you're at in space and what's around you. And last one is your emotions. So allow your emotions to be present, but don't judge them and try to let them go. We're going to kind of pivot to another type of mindfulness, which is mindful eating. This one is very, very tough for a lot of people because we often don't, our eating, whether it be breakfast, lunch, and dinner, can either be, this is my time for emails, or I'm on my phone while eating, or I'm just getting something quick instead of sitting there eating and thinking about it. Have you ever just started with a bag of chips and next thing you know, it's gone and you're like, when did I even do that? You know? So being able to be in that moment, enjoying the taste of the food and knowing what you're doing can also make you feel more full in that moment. So it helps you not overeat because you are, instead of doing multiple things while trying to get in your energy, you're just focusing on that specific task. Okay, so next time you're eating, one thing I really want you to do is pay attention to what you're eating in terms of, one, try to sit down. If you're a stander, that's okay, but try to sit at a table and only have your meal in front of you. When you're eating, actually, try to think about how each bite tastes and just go bite per bite. Instead of just all at once, just trying to go as quick as possible. You've got things to do, I know, but just tasting it in your mouth and really feeling like, what does this taste like? What is this sensation like? What is the texture like? And really embracing the flavor. And doing this can do a lot of differences in your life. But I think a big thing is a lot of people we all have stress. But some people relate stress to eating. So whether that means you're stressed and you're going to overeat, or you're stressed and you're going to undereat, we want to find that normal of neither of those, if possible, or just lower levels. Because, oh goodness, so I'll read it. The stress eating relationship can be particularly important in light of growing concerns around the negative health consequences associated with unhealthy weight and unhealthy eating and excess weight. So I think a lot of the times it's not that you're just eating so much and you're not full, it's we're not focused on the eating, so we don't know we're full because we don't even think about we're eating. We're just mindlessly doing it. And about 69.2% of the Missouri population is overweight to obese. And not only does this come with health consequences, I believe that is really connected to being overweight and being stressed out, because it leads to so many other impacts of your life being affected. So just being mindful of those things. One of the things that I was really interested to see in the research, so taking time to recall a more controlled time in your life can help you resist the pressure to overeat, even if you're in a chaotic environment. So this is for eating, but I think this can be used for any aspect of your health or whatever you are here for right now. So there is scientific research that shows people who are in cluttered, loud, chaotic environments, any of those, are more likely to overeat or be stressed. So what you can do to prevent this is, even if you're in that environment, you're stuck there, you have nowhere to go, think of a moment that relaxes you, of a peaceful environment. Because I can't tell you what that peaceful environment is, because to me and to you, that may look very differently. It could be a memory, or it could just be a space that you have in your home that you love. So you're sitting there in this busy, chaotic environment, you're trying to have a meal, think to that moment, and that's going to work wonders with your mindfulness there. Okay, so I want you to try to think of it right now, of a memory that makes you happy, calm, or warm, whatever you need. Relax and breathe, and I want you to imagine not just this moment, but all the surrounding things in it, whether that be you're in a certain home and you love a certain clock, you can hear it going, or you're eating a certain meal that you enjoy and it's at your favorite restaurant. Feel the tension leaving your body and just breathe and enjoy this moment wherever you're at. All right, slowly come out of this moment. How did that make you feel? And if anyone feels comfortable, you can share your moment. Happy? When do you think you could use something like this? Every day. And I know that may be confusing because we literally said, don't think about the past. But what I mean by that is when you're just trying to be calm, you don't want to think about past mistakes, past instances, things you could have done better. But if you're in a chaotic moment and you need something to relax, think of a past, this happy memory.
Someone online said light and satisfied.
Light and satisfied. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. I especially love light. Any other options of when we could use this in our day-to-day?
I just want to share, I once went to a workshop about meditation, and there was one thing they did that I keep doing and I think it helps. I have created a place, a piece,
the place where I always go before I try and do some meditation or mindfulness exercise, because they said if you go to this place and you know that there you feel happy, you're bringing this emotion into your meditation and it makes you feel more relaxed. And the whole thoughts that keep coming, they don't come as often because you visualize the place, you're there. You're not thinking about the groceries or the kids or the laundry. So that helps me to have a special place where I close my eyes and I go there.
I love that because that's consistent and you know that that place is always gonna bring that same sensation to you. For example, like, you know that recipe that your grandma or your mom made, it always brings you back to that same thing. So finding what that means for you. What did you have? Yeah.
You know, well, whatever I have this live music, people try to display, then I still make those, live music. Because we have to go through the challenges, stress, and love, stress out, it's sleep. And you can still is doing it more and then it's good. Okay. This is sleep. Just don't know.
So stress and loud neighbors and trying to sleep.
Yeah,
That's one of the biggest things in terms of one, when we're trying to fall asleep, we're getting all these thoughts in general, so we're trying to get those out. And two, you could sit on that moment and think about it forever. Like, you could just be getting mad in your mind about the neighbors and it's gonna cause you to sleep less. And the next day, the neighbors might be quiet, but you're like, remember that one time that they were loud? And it still bothers you. So just being open and honest and mindful that you know these things are happening, and sometimes you can't prevent it. Sometimes it's somebody else, but you can prevent how you think about it. Yeah.
but if people they have to tell something, they get stuck out. They can tell someone, they just stuff out. Or just come and talk to someone and make something. How they feel.
Talking about how you feel, talking about how that impacts you. Okay, so one of the papers in your handout looks like this. And this is an optional activity that you can take home if you wanted or do now. But this is a one-time class, so it won't be reoccurring, but I want you to take this into your normal practice. And it has different goals. And there are some examples, but choose your own, see what will work for you. And I want you to do the SMART goals too. So you want to be specific with what your goal is. You want to see that it's measurable, that you can do it or not, you would know. Attainable, and then relevant. So why is it important to you? And is it relevant to what you're practicing? And a time frame. Time frame is the biggest part for me. I am a huge time-oriented person. So if I have a time goal, I'm gonna get it done. If it's a loose time goal of like, oh, maybe next year, we're less likely to get things done. So just think about what your goal is, steps you could do to make this happen, and a time frame that you want it to happen within. Does that mean you failed if you didn't get that within that time frame? No, restart, but you want to get that goal. And you want to be sure that you are somewhat confident you can obtain it. So on your confidence level, I want to be above a 6 or 7 plus to see that we are confident that this is actually doable. So you don't want to feel like you failed because you didn't get it done when you never thought you could. But that's not saying that you shouldn't try. It's just something that is attainable, and also telling people about it. That's my biggest thing when I have a goal. I have to tell people that I'm reaching for this goal because I'm like, I don't do it now. I told somebody I did it and they'll ask me later. Some that wouldn't work for, but you know yourself, you know what works for you in terms of what makes you get things done. And that goes to our next subject. Change is hard, but you want people around you to help you. So forming groups, whether it just be social support, mental support, or just having people around you to talk to about what you're going through. But also the biggest thing is knowing your why. Like, why do you want to do this and why will it impact you and how will it impact you? Because when things are getting difficult, when all those racing thoughts are happening, think back to your goal of this, and that really helps get you in your moment and say, this is what I'm doing, this is gonna help me, this could possibly change my life and my perspective. Okay, but does anyone have any questions or comments you would like to give? Now that these are myself and my 3 colleagues for NU Extension, so any questions you have regarding health and nutrition, we are your gals. But how do we feel today? Do we feel confident about mindfulness? Do we have an idea of how we can go forward with it? Yeah. Any questions, comments online?
We'll give it a minute to see if folks are typing.
So for our practices, which one do you think you would like to start with? For you? 3-minute body scan. That's a good one. Some people, it's their favorite. I love it. And some people, it's their least favorite because it makes you be still in that moment with everything around you. And then you're like, oh my gosh, so many thoughts are occurring. But once again, don't judge. It looks different for everyone and you'll get better as you go. But thank you guys for joining us today. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Sydney, and thank you, everybody, for coming today.